All right, now relating back to the roof, we're starting to explore warped surfaces in a different way. Um, and so I want to present just a few options for how you might begin to develop a warped surface, right? And so I'm going to try to think through them logically, but I can't really guarantee at this point that I'm going to present it in such a way that's going to relate directly to you. So as I present some of these, be thinking about other ways that it might apply during your design process. So most of you are in some sort of creative class here at the same time, or you've done some creative design in the past. So think through that kind of stuff. Just a sec while I turn all my grids off. Because I hate grids. Anyway, yeah, it's a great reason to turn the grids off. All right, so the first thing that I want to go through, well, you guys have seen loft enough, I think, right? So you basically just have a curve and you loft them together. I've shown you that 2 or 3 times. I also showed you patch, which was a little different because patch actually was done with points. So I went over here to the top left corner, and I'm just dropping a couple of single points on here real quick to illustrate what's going on. I'll put one there, and then I'll just grab it and lift it up a little bit. So yeah, that's probably too extreme. So if I select all those points and I patch them, let's see if it even works. Yeah. So patch will actually create a warped surface even just with a couple of points that you place to try and create something interesting. So if you want to do point matrices, then you can do that as well. So if I delete that and I move this point even higher, it's going to become an even more drastic surface. So it's something to consider if you're going to break up your roof structure into something that's a little bit different. It can get pretty interesting, I think. You can rotate it around. You can trim off some of the back wall if you wanted to rotate it around like this. I could just get rid of, whoops. I can use that surface because it's a fully developable surface to actually cut off the back wall and then begin designing inside like this. So all of that is there at your disposal. And so patch is pretty versatile, but you also have to be very careful about where you're placing those points, right? Because control is very important. And when you have a warped surface like that, it gets very difficult to see where you're trimming and where the gaps are between your rectilinear forms and your warped surfaces. So the other thing, and that one is used less common than probably anything else. I just happen to have already shown it to you before. So the other thing I want to show you is something that is way more common, and that is sweep. So sweep is a little different in the sense that it actually takes a profile curve and it will essentially sweep it or extrude it along a path in 3-dimensional space. So I'm going to start off with, do it on this view here. So if I have a roof that I know is going to start a little bit off here, and then it's going to go there, and then it's going to come up like this, and kind of, shoot off to the side like that. Oh, that is not what I wanted. It wasn't planar. Let me move this thing closer to the origin here.
I have a question.
Yes?
So, how you make that? You just select all the points one by one? You didn't.
I just selected them all at once.
Select all?
SELPT is to select point.
When you're using patch?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I did say for you guys to follow along, so I think probably it's a good idea for me to stop, let you play around with it for a while, and I'll come around and troubleshoot with you. rather than moving on to the next section, then there are a few questions that I think are valuable for us to explore. So I'm going to recreate some of this here just by throwing a few more points down. All right, so you've all created surfaces like this, sort of over top of your building. You were all successful in grabbing the top edges of the walls that remain and stretching them above your roof. You use that surface to trim it off. Right, so this is all nothing new. I think you guys all had this down pretty good. The two things that are important is that as a designer, you need to control the edge of the roof because patch creates all this overhang like this. And then you also have to figure out, how am I going to trim it? How am I going to design it? So my first thought is, if I'm going to be trimming it off, I probably just want to make a profile that I can use to trim. And if you want it to match the footprint of the building exactly, it's as simple as turning project on and then creating a polyline around the whole footprint of your building, like this. And the best thing about trim is that it has this function called apparent intersections, where you don't even have to create an actual physical surface that will trim it. So as long as that equals yes, I can select my curve, which actually sits below my roof as a cutting object, go into the top view, hit enter, and then select the outer edge of my roof to trim it down. So that's super mega clean way number one. The other thing you can do is actually, if you're going to go through the process of designing it, you can draw your original profile. Let me get rid of those points. I don't want them. Grab the original profile, turn your edit points on, and start playing with those. So you can yank them off and make it kind of a skewed profile if you want. Oops. And then use that. So now it's not just the building footprint, but I've played around with it a good bit. The other thing that you could do, it's probably not your best option, is you can create new surfaces off of extruding these edges. So you can just say extrude curve, set the direction, go from here to there and pull it off, and then grab that one as well and yank that above, and you can use that to trim and do that just to close it off. But I think the best bet is to utilize your other views to the best of your ability, because that's going to grant you, I think, the largest and most accurate amount of control. Okay, so did I answer generally your questions about that? The trimming down process and control process?
Can you show the second one?
Sure. The one with the walls?
This, not the trim one, but the second. So after when you
I'm
did
sorry.
the trim and then you did another one, can you show that second one that you did again?
The original trim right at the wall?
No, I did. I know you drew like a polyline around and then you did something with apparent intersections, but the one you did after that,
Where I created new walls.
I guess I missed it.
Yeah. So creating new walls essentially would just mean that you have to extrude curve, set the direction, yank it off, do the same thing over here. Oh, look at that. It's already on the edge. Then you just do the same thing as the rest of your walls, where you grab those edges and pull it up. And then you have a full profile. So I basically just recreated the original profile off of that. And so then you can select all of your exterior walls like this, or I'll do the trim thing. Select your exterior walls like this, and and because they all intersect, you'll be able to trim off the exterior face. Oh, got an extra corner there. Is that clear?
What's the question?
Yes.
What is that in the options tree? Extend line is
For extrude?
or apparent, what is that? Apparent intersection, they don't do anything. Yeah.
I'll come check it out for you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next part in the next video.